Breaking into coverage now with breaking news. After deliberating for less than 2 hours, the jury in the federal case trying Brent Christensen for kidnapping and killing U of I scholar Ying Zhang has returned a guilty verdict this morning. Both sides gave closing arguments. During the prosecution's closing, they said they had no idea the defense would admit Christensen killed Zhang. But there was still a need for a trial because the admission did not satisfy the requirement for the government to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The prosecution argued Christensen was in the midst of a downward spiral, but it was because of his own actions. The defense referenced their opening statements. They would not make excuses for Christensen's killing of Zhang, and they would not contest the facts. She also said there are certain things the jury doesn't know, that they can't know, that the government wants them to assume. It took the jury, again, less than 2 hours to reach that guilty verdict. It is now up to jurors to decide Christensen's fate. Because this is a federal case, Christensen could be sentenced to life in prison, or he could face death. We'll have much more from Aaron Eads in just a bit. Of course, you can read all about what happened leading up to this guilty verdict. We have much more information on our website, WCIA.com. Of course, Aaron has been tweeting throughout these proceedings. In fact, you can go on his Twitter feed right now, and I'll take a look and read you some of the arguments that were made in the closing statements. It's pretty interesting because the alcohol use of Brent Christensen has been a focal point throughout the trial, and during the closing, his alcohol use was referenced as it was throughout the trial. And during closing arguments, the Assistant U.S. Attorney Eugene Miller, again, had admitted that they were surprised that the defense admitted that Christensen killed Ying Zhang. But they, again, said that there was still a need for that trial. And Miller referenced an old proverb, idle hands are the devil's workshop. And he said Brent Christensen had idle hands during the spring of 2017. And again, that was when Brent Christensen abducted and killed Ying Zhang. Now, Miller referred to their, quote, mountain of evidence and called the defense's characterization of Brent Christensen's life being in a downward spiral as fair. But he said alcohol did not put these thoughts in Christensen's head. Miller said he argued the whole thing was entirely premeditated. Quote, he didn't want to get drunk the morning of the kidnapping, Miller said. After all, he had a kidnapping and murder to execute. During Miller's clothing, the carpet and the duffel bag were in front of the jury. Aaron Eads, who has been covering this entire trial in Peoria, is standing by now. So we will go to Peoria. Aaron Eads, Aaron, you were in the courtroom. Tell us a little bit more about these proceedings this morning.
Yeah, Paul, the jury took about 2.5 hours to deliberate. They went in at 11:30, reached a verdict at 1:30. It was just read in the courtroom, guilty on all 3 counts. Not something that a lot of people were surprised to hear today, of course. Even during the closing arguments today, his own defense attorney saying, yeah, we expect that you will find him guilty. They even said it was Brent's fault in the courtroom earlier today. The family was all present there. Zhang's father, boyfriend, and brother were sitting in the front row watching as the verdict was just read by the judge. Now, as far as what happens after this, in the immediate future, we're waiting for a U of I spokesperson to come down and make some statements about this. The judge said that Christensen's sentencing hearing will start on Monday, July 8th. They're going to take some time off so they don't interfere with the 4th of July holiday. At that point, the same jury will then have to decide whether he is to be sentenced to life in prison or death. And an interesting note about that, the result may not look all that different either way. Since 1988 or 89, the federal government has presided over cases that have seen 60 to 80 people sentenced to death, but only 3 of them have actually been executed, the last one being in 2003. Now, most federal death row inmates are housed at Terre Haute in again, we're not sure if that's what's going to happen or not yet. It all depends on the testimony that comes up in the next couple of weeks. So right now we are waiting to see who comes outside, to see who we can talk to here. There's an entire circus of reporters that have been watching this entire thing. It was a packed packed courtroom today. Many more people, supporters of the Zhang family, came out to sit behind them as this verdict was read today, something that they've been waiting for a long time.
Obviously been a couple of years since Yingying Zhang was abducted and killed. Did you get any sense that her family had any sense of relief today? Obviously, they still don't know where their daughter's remains are.
Right. You know, it's kind of been hard to tell that. There's a bit of a language barrier. They have had translating devices for them that they've been listening to in the courtroom, but we haven't been able to tell how quickly they've been able to receive the evidence and then react to it as they've been hearing it in court. Throughout it, they've looked stoic but sad. You can tell that they were concerned and unhappy about the situation in general, but they've, for the most part, remained steadfast, just kind of listening to everything that they've heard in the courtroom so far. It appeared that once the guilty verdict was read, somebody whispered into Rongao Zhang's ear, Yingying's father, and told him, and he looked like he wiped a tear from his eye. Brent Christensen, on the other hand, didn't seem to bat an eyelash. He didn't really react all that much, which throughout this trial, he hasn't really reacted a lot to anything. His ex-wife even testified that he wasn't a very emotionally expressive guy, so no surprise there. But it was a little surprising just a few minutes ago to see he didn't have a huge reaction to this news.
Well, and I guess it's sort of as you expected, as we all kind of expected, given that his defense from the beginning admitted and said that they wouldn't contest that he had kidnapped and killed Yingying Zhang. But part of that was really setting up a defense more to really save his life. And now it's about getting him sentenced to life in prison.
Right, and what was interesting about that is that during his closing argument today, Assistant U.S. Attorney Eugene Miller said that he didn't actually know the defense team was going to get up during the opening statements and say he did it. He's guilty. He's responsible for Yingying Zhang's death. Miller says that he wasn't aware that that was going to happen. So he even addressed today, so then why have 8 days of testimony and evidence? Why go through a trial? He said because from a legal standpoint, since Christensen has pleaded not guilty, anything that the attorneys say or tell the jury does not fit the government's burden of proof. They had an obligation and the responsibility to prove that he was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, and that's what they needed that 8 days of testimony and evidence to do. So a lot of people have been asking, why is there even a trial if his own defense team is saying he did it? It was just part of the legal process, and for the defense team, it was a means to get to this point. Assistant Federal Defender Elizabeth Pollock today actually said during her closing argument that they went through all of this because she says the government wants to take his life, to which Miller objected immediately, saying we're not in that phase of the trial. That's not relevant to talk about yet. But again, that will happen in a couple of weeks. That's the biggest unknown. I think a lot of people in the courtroom today were not surprised that there were 3 guilty verdicts today. But I think that there's still a big question mark in the air of what exactly is going to happen when the jury gets back together to decide Christensen's fate.
Yeah, there's certainly that question, and obviously the other big question is where is Yingying Zhang? Where are her remains? And I have to imagine that that's going to be a big factor in this sentencing phase of the trial, and will play a role in determining whether Brent Christensen lives the rest of his life in prison or does face the death penalty.
Yeah, and it certainly could be. There's a lot of information that we were able to get from the testimony and the evidence, things that nobody has heard before. But there are some mysteries that have remained unsolved, which means we will probably never know them. One of those is how Christensen got Zhang into his car, how he got her back into his apartment without anybody seeming to notice. We also have an idea of what could have happened in the apartment based on the evidence presented, but we do not know for sure. And of course, we still do not know what happened to Zhang's remains. Multiple FBI agents testified. We had 8 days of government testimony and evidence. More than 20 people took the stand. U of I police detectives, FBI agents. They all testified, all of them that it was relevant to ask them anyway, that they did not know where Zhang's remains were. There's no evidence that she's been alive since June 9th. They all agree on that, but they have not determined where she is. It's something that the FBI could be continuing to investigate in the background, but until they come up or announce that they have a piece of information, we just have to assume that for now it's still a mystery.
And then can you give our viewers at home an idea of how this next phase of the trial is going to work? Obviously, I know you mentioned that we're not going to get into this sentencing phase of the proceedings until after the 4th of July holiday.
Right. So Monday, July 8th is when this is supposed to pick back up. It's going to be, in a way, almost like there's another trial, although you wouldn't call it that because Brent Christensen has been found guilty in this case. But it's going to be hearings, basically, of more testimony. More witnesses are going to be called. What's going to happen is the government, the federal prosecutors, are going to present what they would call aggravating factors that could inspire the jury to decide that a sentence of death is more appropriate. The defense team will call witnesses and present more testimony in an attempt to present mitigating factors, as in they want to see his life spared. So, you know, the judge has said before, Judge Shadid says he expects it to last about 2 weeks, possibly 3, which is even longer than the trial at this point. And it's rare for this kind of thing to happen, let alone in central Illinois. So I don't think that anybody involved really knows as much of an idea of what's going to happen there, given that sentences are usually imposed by judges in state courts, whereas this situation involves the same jury coming back to return a sentence. So we will just have to wait to see what that ends up looking like when it happens in July.
All right, Aaron, well, I know you have some more to get to as far as you mentioned. People are coming out of the courtroom, so I'm going to let you get back to work out there. I know there's more to be done just outside of the federal courtroom in Peoria. So, Aaron Eads, thank you very much for your time. I know we'll get back to you tonight at 5 and 6 o'clock. So thank you again, and we'll talk to you in just a few hours.
Thank you. We'll see you live at 5 and 6.
All right. So again, we'll have a full breakdown of every day in court leading up to this verdict. Again, you can find that on our website, WCIA.com. But for those of you who are just joining us right now, Brent Christensen has been found guilty in federal court for the kidnapping and killing of Yingying Zhang. Our coverage continues on air and online, WCIA.com, and we will see you tonight at 5 o'clock right here. I'm Paul Cicchini. Thank you for joining us for this breaking news.